So you're in Tomcat. So if you're doing WebSphere or something else, you're gonna have slightly different mechanisms. A lot of this stuff is the same. It's pluggable chains. The method signatures might be slightly different, but it has to be performance. It has to be pluggable and manageable.
What package is Valve.java?
Org Apache Catalina.
Okay.
Yeah, so that tells you the Coyote stuff, the Catalina stuff. Next point in our chain is the standard wrapper valve. So this puppy, we are right here. Filter chain. This does a lot of stuff. This wraps our application. At this point, this is where, after this, we're going to hand it off to the actual application. The filter chains and getting some spec stuff. This is the point where it does a lot of interesting things. It handles the availability at the container level, like the pages that you would see that your application isn't loading, or if you're reloading, you can handle that here. It would handle that application's not ready, trigger an error of some sort. So say if the wrapper is unavailable. So if your application is reloading or something, it would be unavailable, and you can write some code here to kind of show your splash page dig is down or whatever page you would show. Down here we have some extra stuff. Here's errors that it's throwing. Where's that? If there's comments and it's a comment processor, some more comment stuff. And dispatching comments, catching errors, retry, headers that it responds with. Somewhere in here, it actually does the HTTP, or the actual ACK, right? So if you've ever done like tracking actual traffic, Wireshark used to be called Ethernet, right? And actually seeing the SYNs and the ACKs and the actual data that's being passed back and forth at a low level. At this point, once it gets to this point, that's where it acknowledges the request, right? Let's see the ACK. It's kind of
1 second.
What's that?
1 second.
Line 170, did you see it? Yeah, that set acknowledgement. I was looking for the code that actually did it. So this is where it actually acknowledges the request, right? You've sent a GET request to the server. It's done all this stuff to make sure you hit the right spots, and now we're saying, okay, you've hit the right spot. We're going to acknowledge this instead of just and this is actually where it maps to an HTTP servlet request and a servlet response. So we're moving from just Coyote request response to servlet request and response, and then getting into these servlet API stuff. So now we're coming to the next. Let's go back to this real quick. So that was pretty much the Tomcat land, right? The browser made a GET request. It processed all the sockets. It hit the APR, the Apache Portal Runtime HTTP request. It passed it on through the Tomcat valves to make sure the app is up and running, and it's supposed to service it. And now we're processing into our actual application, and we're processing into the server API stuff. So it's going to hand this off to the application filter chain, and that's another pluggable filter chain that we can configure. So does that make sense of where we're at? There. So this is where we start to first see our application. And these are the filters that we're going to look at, right? First one's the character encoding filter. It's the same one you've seen in Spring. There's a hidden HTTP method filter. Grails web request filter, Spring security filter chain, so that's another pluggable filter chain that we can handle security. The site mesh Grails page filter, so you can decorate pages with layouts and do some after view processing, and the URL mappings filter. which is going to determine how the request gets routed through your application. To what controller does it go? How do we know, whose service is there? So the next piece of this chain is the actual application filter. So this is Catalina Core. And it's just a pluggable filter chain. It has a little bit of security. So I guess you can use Java security to secure this stuff. Define if you have this permission enough to run, and process this, right? So if you're really into security, you want to handle it at that level, cool. Have at it. Let's see. It delegates to do internal filter, which then fires the before filter event and after filter events. Right, so you can set up the listeners on that and have code and audit logging and all that stuff that our clients and companies need. That's pretty simple. That's just the standard application filter. So it's a pluggable filter chain. So we're going to see a lot of the same things. It's going to be filter chain, then it's going to delegate to something. And then it delegates to the filter proxy, it delegates again. And then there's this once per request filter, right? So this filter, we'll see this over and over. So this is just making sure that if you forward this request again inside the Tomcat, that it's only going to fire this filter once. It's just going to pass up if it's already applied once, right? So there's some, you set an attribute name on the request, and then if you've already processed this filter, then you'll just skip it. And this is where we first see the delegating filter proxy and this once per request filter. This is a Spring thing. Notice the Org Spring Framework Web. Just kind of move into a different world here. So this character encoding filter is wrapped within a once per request filter. It's going to do one thing. If you're forcing the encoding to be a specific encoding for this request, that's what it'll set the character encoding at this point. So you can have extra parameters thrown into your request and handle that. The next in the filter chain is this hidden HTTP method. And this is really interesting because this is the first place that we see Grails package name, right? So this is Grails specific. And what this allows you to do is to override the HTTP method. What HTTP methods do we use? Get and post. Any others? Delete. Put. There's head options. There's a bunch of other standard ones that are out there too. But what this allows you to do is override that. So you can send a post request and have a hidden parameter that's like underscore method and override the actual HTTP method. So back in the early days, browsers and some overzealous proxies actually did init service requests that weren't get and post, right? And Flex had this issue as well too, that from a browser you couldn't do a delete action or a post or a put. Yeah, or you do a post or a put or a delete. So this was a way that you could override that and still do your delete by setting either an underscore method parameter if you posted it, or you could use an extra header that was X HTTP method override header. So, yep, that's this puppy. I love how you have this pluggable filter chain, and every little piece just does one little thing. It manages its own little workload and then delegates to the next.
You're saying that if I send a Flex request, which is a post, if I set those attributes, it would actually send a put request to the server?
Internally, it would override the method and treat it like it was a put or a delete, whatever you set that as. So you can get around overzealous proxies or older browsers sometimes only do put and get, right? Those are a big issue with old browsers.